like the more that I have these conversations, those journeys into personal development, whatever you want to call it, making yourself better, like a better version of yourself constantly. I feel that a lot of times they are like, there's always a catalyst, a really big struggle that makes people, like, forces them with back against the wall to fix something majorly in their life. Do you feel that that's almost necessary to be on that journey, or do you think that, like, looking back, you would have been able to pull yourself out of your mindset and just, like, do it even if you had the success that you were supposed to have had?
I think for the majority of people, it takes hitting the rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like, for the majority. And that's the thing that I try to do now. Like, I don't want you to hit the rock bottom. You know, I don't. I want to give you tools, and if you can learn before you hit the rock bottom, that's what it's about. But for the majority of people, it takes hitting that rock bottom where you feel like, you know, your back's against the wall, like you said, and there's only one way. It's either, you know, you're going to stay there for the rest of your life, or you're going to find something and create a way or find a way. And so, you know, for me, that's what it was. It was that rock bottom. And I look back and I'm thankful for all those times, because if it wasn't for all that stuff, all those setbacks, all the losses, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be able to impact other lives. So it all had a purpose, you know, for my good.
Yeah. Was there a time where you remember getting super clear on your purpose, or was it just like you had your son and you just knew that if something wasn't going to change, that he was going to end up like you, and you didn't like that version of your son?
Yeah. For me, it was once I started speaking, because, you know, I started making videos. I was, say, rehabbish. I was doing, you know, some motivational stuff and then some just random stuff. And when I got really clear about, like, this is what I was created to do, was me speaking on the stage to kids. And it was like, I don't know, 3,000 or 5,000 kids, seemed like 50,000. And I was just telling it was 5 minutes. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't a speaker. I was telling myself all these things. And got on stage. My friend Jonathan Evans, you know, pretty much forced me on there, talked me into it. And he's like, man, it's something I see. Yeah, very good friend. I thank him to this day. And that's actually, I mean, the event tomorrow is with him. So
cool.
It's funny because the event tomorrow is actually on the same stage that I'm telling the story now. So it's like a full circle thing. So I get on there and then I speak for 5 minutes, and make a long story short, like, I realized, like, this is what I was created to do. Like, I forgot everything I prepared the night before. So literally it was just me on stage sharing my heart for 5 minutes. And those kids, I mean, if you ever talked in front of kids, that's like the hardest audience ever to talk in front of. And they were locked in. And so I was like, this is like, it's something bigger here. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not football. And I was still trying to hang on to football. I was still trying to play arena lead, all these things. And so I completely let go of football in that moment. And I said, you know, I'm dedicating my life to go down this path.
So rehab time was kind of the start of all of that.
Yep.
Right. What was your thought process in getting that started, and what was the medium that you were choosing to go through?
Yeah. So my whole thought process was, it all starts with you. So it was the thought process was, I have to believe it. I have to live it, breathe it, be it. So it was the work that I had to do on myself. I always say the most important work is the work you do offline, the work you do on yourself. Because when you really live it, I believe it becomes contagious, and you can walk in confidence. You can walk with belief.
Your input becomes your output.
There you go. Right. There you go. And so it started with me doing that. And then it started with me picking up my phone, right? So I was like, once I realized, okay, I'm a speaker, right? And so, or I'm an author or whatever. I wasn't getting booked to speak, or not even booked. I wasn't even getting invited to speak, you know? So I'm like, what do I do? So back to networking, I reached out to people that I knew, some coaches. Like, I'm a football player. I know some teachers.
Right.
Went back to my old high school, went back to elementary schools. Like, hey, I'll just share my story. I used the NFL thing to get in there. And I just started speaking for free as much as I could. And in that process, I was like,
that's awesome.
How can I reach more people? So I was like, social media. So I picked up my iPhone, didn't have a camera set up besides that, and I just started making 2-minute videos.
Yeah.
And that's what started, you know, what people see today.
Yeah, you talk a lot about the value of consistency, and especially in terms of creating content. And I know a lot of people follow my show are also, you know, trying to get started with podcasts and, you know, YouTube channels and all these different content creation platforms and things. And I find that the number one killer of any of that is lack of consistency.
Big time.
What would you say?
Big time. Consistency means you're reliable, and when you're reliable, you become trustworthy. And I tell people all the time, the reason that I get to do interviews like this, the reason I get to speak on stages, the reason people watch my videos, yes, it's because of the content, but it's more because of the consistency. I wanted to be a category king for self-worth. When people thought of self-worth, I want to think of rehab time of myself. And so I decided to dedicate my mission to self-worth content. And also with consistency, it's like, even this as far as like with social media, when you're consistent, you become shareable. And I realized that because in order to beat the boogeyman, the algorithm, you have to become shareable, right? Shareable content. I posted a video on Facebook, and it was a 5-minute video, and the lady, it was like a whole bunch of people who shared it, right? And I'm like, it's been a minute, and they already shared it. It's no way they watched the whole video. So at first I kind of like, yo, I didn't watch the whole video. And I thought, I was like, that's crazy. And so I hit up, it was a lady, I said like, why did you share this without watching the whole video? And she said, Trent, and it changed my mindset forever for consistency. She said, Trent, you've been so consistent for years. I already know that the message is going to help somebody, and I want to be one of the first people to share it. And so I have tons of people who do that. They literally will share it as soon as they see it, and then they'll watch it later.
Right. That's the name of the game.
Yep.
I, like, so wholeheartedly believe that, because a lot in a world where these one-off people become like famous overnight with this viral video, and everybody's going for that one, so they create 3 videos and then they upload them, and none of them go viral, and they're like, well, that doesn't work now, but it's impossible. It's like, no,
their intention is wrong. There you go. Their intention is wrong. And it's funny when people ask me about that, and one of the things I talk about is consistency. They ask me like, say, here's the major hack, and I tell them like, you just gotta be consistent. Like, I've been doing this for 10 years. And it's like they get deflated. They're like, oh, like it's no secret. I don't want to be consistent. I'm just like, that's how you do it. You literally have to just, as simple as that sounds, just be consistent over time. And when you're consistent, growth has to take place.
Yes, exactly. And again, and bringing back what you said earlier too, the input thing, you have the consistency, but then what happens when you're consistent is you bump up your quality. Right?
There you go.
So like that's what my whole mantra is, like consistent quality content with context. If you put consistent quality content in front of the right audience, like something will happen.
That's right.
I don't know how long it'll take, and I don't know how big it'll get, but I promise you something will happen. But if you're missing any of those 3 things, if it's in front of the wrong people and you're not consistent, or the quality is poor, like you can be consistent as hell.
Yeah,
but, like,
you're poor.
If it's not good, like it's not good.
That's true.
But the bottom line is, when you are consistent, your quality is going to start getting better and better.
Repetition.
And better.
For sure.
And then all those inputs that you're doing, like you were saying, like now I started reading books, like I started listening to audiobooks, I started attending, events and listening to speakers, and, downloading podcasts and all those different things. And then when you start, consuming all of that, you can't help but like put it back out there.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, like coming into this like next version of your career, you got an amazing book coming out.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about 2-3 things from that book that you're really trying to hammer home for people?
Yeah, for sure. So the book is called The Greatest You, and the whole idea of the book is like, the greatest you isn't some external. Like, it's not something that you find in the world. The greatest you is inside you. So I'm really taking people on a journey of turning their pain into their power. And if somebody says, well, Trent, I have no pain, what you do. But if somebody says, I have no pain, there's also another level of yourself that I'm taking you to meet also. And so I break it down. It's my rehab process. It's not said in the book, but like, this is the journey I walk people down, I teach from. So the first R is reality. And the first chapter is, you'll never win your war by running from your battles. So I make people face their reality, because if you don't deal with the things that you need to deal with, you can reach all the success in the world that you want. But guess what? When you unpack your baggage, that stuff is still there. I always say, it doesn't matter if you have a brand new destination. If you have the same baggage, you get to that destination, that same stuff is still there. So really helping people really face their truth and deal with those things. The second part is release. And release is, one of the chapters is burning bridges, right? Is getting the people, or even the habits, the mindset out of your life that doesn't serve you or grow you. And the last part is repair. And repair is digging up the bad seeds and replacing great seeds in your life, right? Reading books, getting around the right people, growth environment, and what I call championship mindset, developing these things to help you for the long term.